and welcome back to Bookish Theories. In today's video, I would like to talk about BTS's comeback map for their upcoming album Map of the Soul 7, focusing on a little breakdown and analysis of the map and what we could expect in the upcoming weeks in terms of content, concept, and more. This is gonna be a bit different from my usual videos because we only have a map to work with, but I have some thoughts that I would like to share with you, so let's dive right into the theory. Now, the first thing that I would like to focus on here is the concept itself. Much like we were expecting, the album will continue to follow Carl Jung's Map of the Soul. But what we were not expecting is that the album will focus on both shadow and ego. Right off the bat, this is very interesting because if we take a look at the map, Map of the Soul 7 seems to be two albums in one. The first part will probably focus on the shadow concept and deal with the darker and more primitive side of our personality that we hide behind the persona. As I mentioned in many of my past videos, this makes sense both in the context of the concept and the storyline. Map of the Soul persona ended with Dionysus, which is a god whose worship implies the destruction of the persona and the liberation of the shadow. So it's very appropriate that the first trailer will be called Shadow. My guess is that Shadow and the single associated with it will focus on the conflict that arises once the shadow is awakened, while in the second half of the album we are gonna get the resolution to this conflict with Ego and the official title track. In contrast to the shadow, the ego is the part of us that represents reason. In Jung's theories, the ego acts as a balancing force between the persona and the shadow, and thanks to it we are able to reach individuation, which is the goal of the Map of the Soul itself. BTS's goal here is to help us improve our lives and achieve balance within ourselves. So 7 will portray both the conflict and the resolution. But why just make one album instead of two? Well, many people are speculating that it's because this is gonna be Jin's last album before enlistment. This is unfortunately very plausible, but since I don't want to think about it, I also thought about another possibility. Over the span of the last few months, there have been many hints that suggested that we are going back in time. Persona itself had many references to the first eras of BTS's music, so many of us theorized that the new album would follow the same route and go back to the past. And well, if we take a look at the map, it looks like we were right. The number 7, for instance, has the same color scheme of the hot air balloon on the cover of The Most Beautiful Moments in Life, Young Forever. This is important because, much like 7, Young Forever was two albums in one. It was a compilation album that included the songs from both Part 1 and Part 2 of the series. And back then, the intro was sang by Suga, which is the same member that we'll supposedly see in the Shadow trailer. This suggests that we are going back to that era, and if we take a look at Phase 4 of the map, what happens on the 21st of February seems to confirm this as well. Besides the release of the album, we are also getting a kinetic manifesto film called Come Prima. Now, a manifesto film is a film that basically explores the ideology behind a certain concept or movement. And here, the title is very telling. In Italian, Come Prima means like before. And besides being the title of a very famous Italian song that I'm sure Namjoon heard while he was in Italy, the title of the film is literally telling us that they will show us things as they were before. What is interesting about this is that in musical theory, the phrase has also a more specific meaning. According to the Dictionary of Musical Terminology, Come Prima is a musical directive to the performer to return to a previous tempo, to play a passage like a previous passage, or to repeat a passage. This implies that not only we are going back in time in terms of storyline, but also in terms of music, and this is very important. You see, The Most Beautiful Moments in Life was an important moment for BTS's career, and the themes of youth, friendship, and unity are as important today as they were back then. If we take into account all of this, then 7 will probably be a celebration of BTS's career that will show us all the things that made them the people they are today. This would also explain why the album itself is called 7, because 7 represents BTS themselves. There are 7 members, this is gonna be their 7th year together and their 7th studio album. So this is literally gonna be the manifesto that shows us who they really are. What I find interesting about this is that 7 is written as a number and not as a word. They didn't write it in Korean or in English, so around the world people will read it differently according to their language. This follows the idea that music connects us all despite our differences. And sure enough, in the map there are dates dedicated to events that will connect them with different parts of the world. While we connect with each other thanks to them, they are connecting with us thanks to music. And I think that this is gonna be at the focus of the next album. So that's it from me today. Are you excited for this comeback? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye bye!